November 20th, 1943. Dawn breaks over the turquoise lagoon of Tarawa Atoll, where the humid Pacific air hangs heavy with the scent of salt and impending storm. Waves crash against the coral reef, their rhythmic thunder mingling with the distant hum of American landing craft engines, like the growl of an awakening giant. On Bidio Island, a flat sliver of sand and palm no larger than a city park, Japanese defenders crouch in their concrete bunkers, hearts pounding beneath the tropical sun that already promises to scorch the earth. The first Higgins boats grind onto the reef, disgorging Marines into chest-deep water stained red by the rising light, or soon by blood, as machine gun fire erupts from hidden emplacements, slicing through the mist like invisible scythes. This moment, etched in the annals of the Pacific War, marked the ignition of Operation Galvanic, the United States' bold thrust into the heart of Japan's island defenses. Tarawa, part of the Gilbert Islands, was no mere outpost. It housed a vital airfield on Bidio, capable of launching bombers to threaten Allied advances toward the Marianas and beyond. For the Japanese Empire, under the iron grip of its militarist regime, Tarawa represented an unbreachable fortress in their absolute national defense sphere. Rear Admiral Keiji Shibazaki, the garrison's commander, had fortified Bidio with meticulous precision. Over 500 pillboxes, blockhouses, and gun emplacements interconnected by trenches and shielded by coconut log walls up to 5 feet thick. Some 4,600 troops, elite naval infantry from the Special Naval Landing Forces, and 2,200 Korean laborers stood ready, armed with 14 coastal defense guns, 40 artillery pieces, and an arsenal of machine guns. Shibazaki's boast echoed through Tokyo's war rooms. 1,000,000 men cannot take Tarawa in 100 years. This confidence stemmed from Japan's early victories, from Pearl Harbor to Singapore, where they had shattered Western illusions of invincibility. Yet for the Americans, Tarawa was the proving ground for their amphibious doctrine, a necessary stepping stone in the island-hopping strategy devised by Admiral Chester Nimitz to bypass fortified strongholds and strike at Japan's core. The 2nd Marine Division, 18,000 strong under Major General Julian Smith, approached aboard Task Force 53, their LSTs and LVTs laden not just with rifles and ammunition, but with the fruits of an industrial colossus: canned rations, medical supplies, and, improbably, the machinery for frozen delights that would soon pierce the veil of Japanese resolve. In the bunkers of Bidio, the Japanese soldiers anticipated a familiar script. They had been indoctrinated with tales of American softness, of a decadent democracy weakened by individualism and material excess. These invaders, they believed, would falter under the Bushido spirit, the unyielding warrior code that demanded death before dishonor. Starving on meager rice rations, their bodies gaunt from months of isolation and supply shortages, the defenders envisioned a swift repulsion. Marines cut down on the beaches, their bodies piling like driftwood, forcing a humiliating retreat. Petty Officer Tadao Onuki, manning a machine gun in a coral revetment, later recounted the initial surge of triumph as the first waves hit the reef. "We opened fire with everything we had. The sea turned red with their blood." They expected the Americans to break, as the British did at Singapore or the Filipinos at Bataan, overwhelmed by superior will. But reality unfolded in horror. The Marines, though bogged down by low tides that exposed them to withering fire, pressed on with amphibious tractors clawing over the reef. Naval gunfire from battleships like the USS Maryland pounded the island, though inaccurately at first, shattering palm trees and bunkers alike. By midday, clusters of Marines had breached the seawall, their Thompson submachine guns chattering in response. The Japanese, witnessing this relentless advance, felt the first cracks in their certainty. And then, amid the chaos, came the surreal. As follow-up waves landed supplies, crates of provisions included the unthinkable: portable ice cream mixers and churns, powered by generators from the ships offshore. Captured Japanese diaries from survivors revealed the disbelief. One entry noted, "The enemy brings machines for making cold sweets, even as they fight. How can we compete with such wealth?" The battle raged for 76 hours, a maelstrom of close-quarters combat that turned BDO into a charnel house. Factual records paint a grim tableau. On D-Day alone, November 20th, 1,500 Marines fell, killed or wounded, as they waded through lagoons under enfilading fire from 13mm and 7.7mm guns. The Japanese, entrenched in spider holes and fortified positions, exacted a terrible toll. Documents from the Imperial Navy's 3rd Special Base Force detail how they repelled initial assaults, with anti-boat guns sinking dozens of landing craft. Yet American persistence, bolstered by superior logistics, began to tell. By November 21st, reinforcements from the 6th Marine Regiment pushed inland, using flamethrowers and demolition charges to clear bunkers. Shibazaki himself perished on the second day, his command post obliterated by naval shells, as confirmed by intercepted radio traffic. Survivor accounts, sparse from the Japanese side, only 17 Imperial troops lived to be captured, echoed the dawning dread. Warrant Officer Kiyoshi Ota, one of the few taken prisoner, whispered in interrogation, "We thought our fortifications impenetrable, but the Americans came like a tide that never recedes." Amid the rubble, as Marines consolidated their gains, the symbolic object emerged repeatedly: ice cream, churned fresh from mixes supplied by the fleet's reefer ships. Historical logs from the USS Ashland, a landing ship dock, record distributing gallons of vanilla and chocolate to exhausted troops, a morale booster amid the heat exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Japanese prisoners, offered a taste during processing, reacted with wide-eyed astonishment. One Korean laborer, quoted in Marine Corps reports, said, "They fight with one hand and eat frozen cream with the other. Such plenty we have never known." This frozen treat, a product of America's vast dairy farms and efficient supply chains, became the recurring emblem of an abundance born from democratic ingenuity, where even in war's furnace, comfort was not a luxury, but a standard. As the smoke cleared on November 23rd, with BDO secured at the cost of 1,009 American dead and 2,101 wounded, figures tallied in after-action reports by the 2nd Marine Division, the transformation in Japanese perception crystallized. What began as defiant expectation shattered into a profound ideological shift. The defenders, raised on propaganda of spiritual superiority over material might, confronted the reality of America's industrial behemoth. Captured documents from Shibazaki's headquarters revealed plans for a prolonged defense, assuming supply shortages would cripple the invaders. Instead, the Marines' ability to sustain not just combat, but creature comforts like ice cream underscored the futility of attrition. Vice Admiral Takajiro Onishi, reflecting on similar encounters across the Pacific, reportedly suppressed reports of American ice cream barges to preserve morale, acknowledging privately that such logistical prowess doomed Japan's resource-starved empire. For the survivors, tasting that creamy symbol, cold, sweet, and effortless, eroded the Bushido facade. It whispered that victory belonged not to the fanatic, but to the free society that could feed its warriors with extravagance. Marine Colonel David Shoup, who earned the Medal of Honor for his leadership, noted in his debrief, "We took the island, but the real blow was showing them what we're made of, not just steel, but plenty." This encounter on Tarawa rippled through Japanese high command, accelerating doubts that fueled later kamikaze desperation as the ideology of divine invincibility bowed before the tangible proof of Allied superiority. In the epilogue of this blood-soaked saga, the ice cream lingers as a poetic harbinger, melting on the tongues of victors and vanquished alike, linking the grit of battle to the broader truth of freedom's bounty. Amid the coral graves of BDO, where over 4,000 Japanese lay interred in mass anonymity, that simple frozen delight symbolized the democratic ethos, a nation's strength drawn from its people's ingenuity, where abundance flows not from conquest, but from liberty's wellspring. As the Pacific sun set on Tarawa, casting long shadows over the lagoon, the taste of that ice cream endured, a silent testament that true power resides in the ability to offer sweetness amid sorrow, ensuring that the light of abundance would ultimately eclipse the darkness of tyranny.